Welcome to the Board of Education business meeting for Tuesday, September 19th of 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'm going to ask the board secretary to please read the sunshine announcement and perform the roll call.
This is the Walton Township Board of Education meeting for which adequate notice under the Open Public Meeting Act was provided by notice in the Co-Star, Asbury Park Press, written notice to the Township Clerk's Office, all Walton Township Public Schools, and in the Board Administration Office on January 5th, 2023. Take a roll call. Mr. Anisio?
Here.
Mr. Buffa?
Here.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Here.
Ms. Hodnett?
Here.
Mr. Maliff?
Here.
Mr. Nasser?
Here.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Here.
Mr. Wondrak?
Here.
Ms. Stites?
Here. Thank you. This time, may I have a motion for the board to go into executive session for
I'll make-
letters A, D, E, G, and H on the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr.
I'll second.
Sanfilippo? Mr. Adonisio? All in favor? Thank you. The board expects to reconvene at 7:30 for the remainder of the meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the business meeting of the Wall Township Public School District for Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Please join me in welcoming members of our Wall High School NNDCC Color Guard for the salute to the flag. Thank you. This time, I'm going to ask Mr. Smythe, our board secretary, to please do a roll call for us.
Good evening, Mr. Adonisio? Here. Mr. Buffa?
Here.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Here.
Ms. Hodnett?
Here.
Mr. Mallett?
Here.
Mr. Nasser?
Here.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Here.
Mr. Wondrak?
Here.
Mr. Adams, Mason Adam?
Here.
Ms. Megan Cappy?
Here.
And Ms. Stites?
Here.
Is everyone right?
We did that. Okay. Prior to opening the floor for public comment, I'd like to remind folks that the board requests those individuals speaking will be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when making comments. Specifically, comments regarding individual students and school personnel are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The Wall Township Board of Education bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Speakers should consider their comments in light of the legal rights of those affected by or identified in their comments and recognize that they are legally responsible for and liable for their comments. I'd also like to remind the public that the board is very happy to give full attention to members of the community who are giving public comment. Please remember that the board will not be engaging and participating in a question and answer session during public comment. If a question is posed, Dr. Handerham will, if appropriate, attempt to answer it in her superintendent's report, or I may try to answer it in mine. Otherwise, the district will be getting in touch with you afterward. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for public comment on all school-related issues, which means they don't have to be action agenda items. And I would like to mention that public comment is limited to 3 minutes. If you would like to comment, please come up to the podium. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay.
Yeah, just to be clear, I'm speaking on behalf of the parents that homeschool their children, and I don't know if now is an appropriate time to do that or later on in the the evening.
You can absolutely do that now.
Sure. Well, thank you for your time. My name's James Avery, for anybody who doesn't know me. I'm an 18-year resident of Wall, my wife Diane and I, and our 4 children. Our oldest daughter, Kaylin, she graduated from this school. She was a great student here. I don't know if any of you remember her, anybody remembers her, but she's now a senior at Wall High School. She is an honor student and the captain of varsity cheer. But unlike Kaylin, our 3 other children are homeschooled. Emmy, who is now going to be 12, JP 11, and Mason 6. That was really as a result of COVID. We found that homeschooling benefited us in numerous ways, especially our children. And part of making that decision, in respect to all these things, is that they're going to be able to participate and still be considered, members of this community, which means being able to participate in sports and activities as every other child that lives in Wall. So my Kaylin's little sister Emmy is, considering coming to cheer this winter here, and we had heard that it was being considered that homeschool children would not be allowed to participate. And it was, upsetting to her, infuriating to me, and upsetting to me as a father, because we've always been great supporters of this community, of the school. I coach lacrosse at the rec level. And part of youth sports, at least in my world, is we've heard this. It's a common principle that we teach these kids. It's about family. Forget about me. I love you. And we want these kids to feel included. We want them to be selfless. We want them to have character and demonstrate fairness and all these wonderful things we talk about as adults and we're teaching these kids. But when we're talking about excluding children from being able to participate in things with their friends because of decisions that their parents made, which we feel as their parents is the right thing to do for them, it's just a sad day. It's a sad day if we decide that it's good for children to exclude them from things. That is not the direction the world should be going. I'm sorry if I sound emotional or upset about this, but as a father and wants to see his kids go on and at least be able to participate in the things like their older sibling has, I take it very seriously, and I hope you can take my words into consideration as you guys deliberate over that this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Joe Cran. I'm the grandfather of Gavin Adams right here, whose parents and I live in Wall. We're long-term residents. Gavin's parents chosen to homeschool the children. And they're very active in sports. And we urge you to, in fact, allow them to participate in high school, in school activities, in sports activities. We think it's fair. They pay taxes. They pay about $21,000 a year, some of which goes to the school board. You may argue that if they want to receive the full benefit of that $21,000, they could send their children to the school, but they opt not to do that. They did not opt out of allowing them to participate in after-school sports. They continue to pay taxes. We believe it's only fair that they be allowed to, in fact, participate in after-school sports. Other school districts, like Hillsborough, have just passed amendments allowing homeschool children to participate in after-school sports. There are other school districts, which my daughter named. She and her husband could not be here today, and of course I've forgotten them. But there are other school districts that, in fact, are allowing children to homeschool children to participate in after-school sports. They're being inclusive. I'm kind of baffled as to why you would consider a motion to be non-inclusive. We urge you not to pass this rule and to allow the homeschool kids to participate in after-school sports. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Emmy Avery. I'm 11 years old and I'm a homeschool student. I have registered for this homecoming year at Wall Intermediate to participate in public school sports and activities. I love homeschooling as it gives me extra time to spend time with my family. I am excited about the opportunity to meet more kids in my town. Sometimes as a homeschooler, other kids may treat us as an outsider, but we just want to fit in. One thing my parents have taught me is to be open-minded and include everyone. I am asking you today to please include us to participate in school sports and activities. It means so much to all of us. More good comes out of including us than excluding us. Thank you.
Nice job, thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Gavin Adams, and I'd like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My mom told me Wall's thinking about changing their policy to make it so homeschoolers cannot participate in school sports. This was tough and confusing for me to hear because I'm a 6th grade homeschooler in Wall Township, and I've lived in Wall almost my whole entire life, and I couldn't wait until it was my turn, I was in 6th grade, so I could try out for the school sports teams. I have watched homeschooled friends from local towns all around Wall participate on their school teams, and I couldn't wait until it was my turn. I tried out for the Wall Middle School soccer team last week, and I made it. I was so happy when I got the good news. It's been hard for me to understand why you would want to take this opportunity away from me. I work hard every day on all my subjects. Just because the way I learn looks different, it doesn't mean I work any less. Please give me the chance to play with my friends in the community and help contribute to the success of Wall soccer team now and in the future. I am a good student and a good team player. I love living in Wall, and I want the opportunity to represent Wall in a sport that I love. I'm asking you tonight to continue to give me and other homeschoolers a chance we deserve. The same opportunities that you give every chance. We deserve the same opportunities that you give every other middle schooler and high schooler in our community. Please don't take this opportunity away from me and other homeschoolers in Wall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Hello, everybody. My name is JP Avery, and I play on Wall Rec. And I really look forward to play on Wall High School for lacrosse as goalie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a little different. I don't have children, but I'm going to be speaking on a homeschool issue. I'm an attorney in the state of New Jersey. I actually represent municipalities throughout the state. Through my time and my familial relationships, I've gone to a lot of football games, basketball games, school plays, and award ceremonies.
Could you just state your name, please?
Sure, Grace Lemke, Lempka. As you heard clearly, this is all leave the parents and the children to say about themselves. What I would like to direct your attention to is the economic and potential legal ramifications of your decision. As an economic, I'm sure parents, you're aware, parents who are homeschooled their children still pay taxes. In Wall, in 2021, the average property tax obligation was around $9,300. Of that $9,301, $5,660, which is more than 60%, in Wall was directed to the public school system. Homeschool parents choose to not use those $5,660. It's actually saving Wall Township from having to get extra money from the state because it's money that's being directed towards students who are in the schools. Allowing homeschool students to participate in the extracurricular activities justifies the over $5,000 that are paid to the public schools. As to legal, first I want to address the fact that there's pending legislation. I have copies for all of those on the board of Assembly Bill 1041. It's currently pending. The bill simply states districts are required to allow homeschooled students to participate in school-sponsored extracurricular activities. Not only is this bill pending, but it is co-sponsored by the town's representative, Sean Keene. Wall has voted on this issue by putting Sean Keene into his representative, and he has spoken. He has co-sponsored this bill. It's out of committee. It's pending before the Assembly. Further, NJSIA, which is the governing body of athletics in New Jersey, allows for homeschool students to participate in athletics. They make it easy for the districts by setting forth a 12-point guidelines for the districts as to how to handle homeschool students. This decision came about 13, 15 years ago. I was at the end of it. It was around my time of when I was in high school. It was a huge decision for a lot of people and impacted a lot of them. You know, homeschool is a minority. It's very, very small. It's only very few students, but they're passionate. They're here, they're talking, it's impacting them. I implore you to leave this policy alone, to continue to be on the right side of the students' welfares. As stated on the website for the Board of Education of Wall, Board of Educations can make a positive impact on student achievement. Equally, they can make a negative impact. And any change to this policy will make a negative impact on students' welfare. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment? Anyone else?
The table's not here anymore. Any reason why? So you couldn't record, I guess. Shit. Betsy Cross, I live in Wall Township. I'd appreciate in future if you kept that table here. I'm guessing since you don't want me to put the recorder here, you probably don't have it here. I want to go over a couple things. And I completely agree with all these people that just spoke. I'm surprised more people weren't clapping for them. Very disappointing. Wanted to go over attorney bills. I see the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office is in again, and people are wondering what that's about. It looks like we've got like thousands of dollars of bills here. Just personnel issues and attorney bills were like $15,000 that you're paying tonight. So what in the world is possibly going on? I see drafting for statement of evidence for D. Zanzuki. My lawsuit, we go to court next week. I hope Mr. Smythe is going to be there. I hope Mr. Nasser is going to be there, and I hope Tracy Handerhan is going to be there. And if I can record it, I will, so that I can put it on my YouTube channel, which is Wall BOE, and it's Betsy Oprah's Education, so people can see that. Because the response from the attorney that you outsource that you don't even have a contract with, so I put in a request 2 months, in July and now. So, Ms. Stites, if you can tell us how much we're paying that law firm, Methvessel, what are we paying them per hour? Because there's no attorney bills in, and, Kathleen Giovanni is an attorney. How in the world are we paying these people? Because there's no attorney bills. Is the price different if you win versus whether you lose? I know we've been paying Rose Sergio since like April, I guess, of 2021. If there is nothing wrong, you need to bring her back. If there's something wrong, we should know by now, and we should be moving on. I don't understand how in the attendance records, last year was a negative 240, and then we start over brand new, July 1st, to -1. So what happens with that? I calculate 298 days that could be cashed out. We need to have a handle on this. Every time I ask how are payments calculated, I don't get a response. Same thing for Mr. Smythe. What if Mr. Smythe was to retire tomorrow? I see the payroll person is leaving, so that's good, because now we'll have another person that can give a lot of information. I've been asking over and over again if Mr. Smythe has been deposed on the trailers. Ms. Stites, if you can answer that tonight. Again, has Mr. Smythe been deposed on the trailers? It's very simple. He needs to be deposed. We need to get to the truth on the trailers, because I can see all the attorney bills on this are really racking up. You need to do a better
you,
job than
Mrs.
what you're
Cross.
doing. And I
Thank you,
know you
Mrs.
don't want to
Cross.
answer questions, but I would like you to answer the
Thank you, Mrs.
question
Cross.
if Mr. Smythe has been.
Do we have anyone else at this time for public comment?
Mary Connors, Wall Township. I just have a few quick points. I noticed in looking on the job postings for Wall Township that there was a Wall High School principalship posted on September 7th, and then it's going to close. I think it was September 21st. I didn't make a photocopy of it, though. And I thought that we would have gotten some kind of public comment on what is going on with the current Wall High School principal before you would have posted, sort of to keep us in the loop, you know, and where we are in the search. I didn't know until today when I was sitting in my car about the item R9270, which would exclude homeschooled children, and I thought that was odd. Even as a Catholic school kid growing up in Union County, I was allowed to go back to my public school and get my driver's ed and get my behind the wheel, and I did sports and all of my other extracurriculars, even though we paid tuition to a private Catholic school. So I just thought it was odd, because although I wasn't homeschooled, I wasn't a public school child, and I was still able to be part of my community in my town, because my school was out of county even, to get to know the kids in my neighborhood. And I just thought that was really odd. It struck me as something that we should not be doing when we're trying to be more inclusive in our world, that we're excluding. And then I think the next one is for when we get to agenda items, so I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Ellie Rezick. I live in Wall. On June 15th, 2021, I first spoke to this board to share my concerns about the safety of the COVID-19 vaccinations. This was prior to the so-called vaccines being mandated on Wall Township public school staff in October of 2021. I then repeatedly followed up with the board via email to provide numerous sources to back up my statements. Countless doctors and scientists around the world have called for an immediate suspension of the products given the harm they have caused. Today is September 19th, 2023, and if I go to the district website and click on the Our District tab and then on the COVID-19 information, I see our district is still to this day directing parents to these products. I also addressed this concern a year ago at the September 2022 meeting, and I was told that the Department of Education requires Wall Township Public Schools to provide vaccine information to parents. As evidence of the harm caused by these products is mounted, it's long overdue for the district to take responsible action and no longer suggest them. In fact, I took a look at many other district websites in the area and could not find one district that still mentioned the so-called vaccines. If the DOE is requiring this of us, why are other districts seemingly not required? I respectfully request that any mention of these products be removed from our district website immediately. And speaking of other districts, I noticed many have posted under their COVID Restart and Recovery tabs a detailed plan for use of funds from the COVID ESSER funds they received. Manasquan, for example, which received just under $1 million in ESSER funds, compared to the nearly $3.5 million that Wall received, disclosed how their funds were used under the Restart and Recovery tab. $3.5 million is a large sum. There was a lot of talk at these meetings prior to receiving the funds, but not much follow-up discussion after about how the funds were used. How was the money spent, and what do we have to show for it? So to reiterate my two main requests this evening, number one, please remove any mention of the so-called vaccines from our district website immediately. And number two, please clearly post the document Plan for Use of Funds to the district website if it's not already there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to close the floor for public comment.
Good evening. At this time, I would like to welcome our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Jennifer McCann, and I would like to welcome Ms. Erin Embon, Director of Curriculum K-5, and she's also the Wall Primary School Principal. I'd like to invite them up to discuss some really exciting academic programming that is taking place tonight. Okay. In my excitement for our discussion of the reading program, I overlooked our exciting and enthusiastic student representatives. Will never happen again. And at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Mason Adam and Ms. Ms. Megan Cappy to share some happenings at Wall High School.
The school year is in full swing and quizzes and tests are already being assigned. Students have settled in and there's a great sense of community in the school this year. The past 2 days were picture day. Students are looking forward to Pep Week and homecoming with the dance being on the 21st. Pep Week forms are currently being assigned and from there the football and cheerleading squads will begin practicing.
Meanwhile, sports are off to a strong start. Boys soccer are 2-3, including a big win over St. Rose in overtime. Field hockey and girls soccer are both off to a 3-1 start to their respective seasons. Football beat Howell and narrowly lost to Mid-South. The cross-country team also showed out at the Battle of Ocean County with the sophomore Oliver Langeveld finishing third for his class.
Thank you so much. An outstanding job this evening, and please accept my apologies. And I am really grateful that you were able to come out tonight and share some of that. And I just want to let everyone know that we have amazing Board of Education student representatives, and these will be two faces that you will see throughout the school year. So we're super excited, and thank you so much for coming out. You are absolutely welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can pull that homework card if you wanted to leave early. So I'll leave that up to you. How about it?
Thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you at the next meeting. Okay, Dr. Handrahan, if you'd like to go back to special presentations.
Okay. And again, anybody that knows the topic knows why I'm so excited that it's presented this evening. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Ms. McCann and Ms. Enbon.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity to present to you our new English Language Arts program for grades K through 2 for this school year. Before we get into the actual program, we wanted to go over some of the information as to what was some of our decision makers in making the shift from a balanced literacy approach to teaching reading to a more systematic and explicit approach. So Frederick Douglass, in his wise words, once said, "Once you learn to read, you will be forever free." So we here in Wall Township want to ensure that we provide all of our students with the opportunity to learn to read. There have been a number of research studies that have been done over, probably about 50 years or more. And all of those studies have come to the same conclusion, that about 95% of our students can learn to read when using instructions and programs based on the science of reading. And if you look at the pie chart, basically the research has showed that 30% can learn with any type of instruction, 15% with additional time and support, and 50, I can't see, which is why I have it in front of me as well, can learn with explicit and direct instruction in foundational literary skills. And then that 5% will likely struggle due to different types of cognitive disabilities. However, keeping in mind that we should be able to reach 95% of our student population and teach them how to read. So with that, if you weren't aware, we are in a reading crisis in America, and there are a number of different statistics that have come about that have really led the charge in a national review and audit of the way in which we teach reading. I'm not going to read them all to you, but if you really look at some of them, 130 million American adults cannot read at a basic level. 88% of first graders with a reading difficulty still can't read in grade 4. We as educators need to do better, and we're going to do better. So what is the science of reading? By definition, it is a vast interdisciplinary body of scientifically based research about reading and the issues related to reading and writing. It is based on 50 years of research in neuroscience, cognitive science, educational science, linguistics, and developmental psychology. The science of reading is not a program. It is not a philosophy. It is not a fad. It is not a political agenda. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach to just phonics. It's not new. Like I said, it's been around for 50+ years, and it is not only for students with dyslexia. It is for all students to ensure we teach them to read. Over time in that research, we had the opportunity, or researchers had the opportunity, to actually see how the brain processes and learns how to read. The picture on the left is a brain through an MRI, where all of the different lobes of the brain are ignited and learning how to read. Each piece of the brain serves a different purpose in learning how to read. For example, the frontal lobe works on speech sounds, which is our input and output. I'm not going to go through all of it. The temporal lobe is for language comprehension. Each component of the brain, like I said, serves a purpose. So how do we use this information to teach reading? Well, there's a simplistic view of reading, which basically comes down to word recognition, which is WR, times the language comprehension is equaled to reading comprehension. With one, you can't get the other. You have to have both in order to learn how to read. There is also another type of graphic that goes along with it, which is called Scarborough's rope. And there are two main strands to the rope. The top being language comprehension, and I know for those of you who are sitting back here, you can't necessarily see all of the strands of that, but it basically comes down to background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, literacy knowledge. When intertwined with word recognition, which is phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition, when those pieces have the opportunity over time and get either increasingly strategic or increasingly automatic on the bottom, you wind up with a skilled reader. So as I said in the past, and many districts have used balanced literacy, and there are some amazing components to balanced literacy that we will continue to work through, but we are here in Wall Township are moving towards a more structured literacy program in grades K to 2 this year. We are approaching it with a more explicit, systematic approach where we will be teaching phonological awareness, word recognition, phonics, decoding, and encoding, and syntax. And then also ensuring that we expose all students to rich vocabulary and content through read-alouds and complex texts, a commitment to exposure to interesting words orally by having them hear it, say it, learn it, use it, and map it to their brain, and also with an intentional content area instruction with integrating social studies and science throughout our semesters during the school year. So what does this look like for us? We have multiple resources that we have trained and provided to our teachers. The first being the iReady language portfolio, K-2. We have opportunities this year where teachers in grades 3 to 5 are piloting these materials. And we have a clearly defined MTSS for our students with new universal screeners, tiered intervention, district-wide elementary intervention teachers. We're using DIBELS 8. We have that tiered approach. We've brought in the Reading League to provide professional development to our teachers. We've had the iReady Curriculum Associates team come in and provide professional development teachers. And we also have an extensive 2-year program that we're offering to about 25 teachers who volunteer to take it through Lexia Letters, which would be an ongoing process for them over the next 2 years to have a deeper understanding of what this is about. Oop, I'm going to go back. I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Mbon to go over the products and resources. Yeah, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. So many of you know I'm a math person, and now I'm in charge of reading. What's fascinating to me is that even though that one quote about 50% of students learn through a systematic approach to reading, what we didn't get into is that 30% of students need to learn with a systematic approach to reading. So when you look at children, I have 3. I do have 1/3 needed to learn this way. So it is so exciting to me that we can bring this to Wall, and I thank Jen and Dr. Handerhan because it's really just very inspiring. So what does our program look like? It's fourfold. It's a portfolio. The name of the program is the iReady Language Portfolio. We're introducing it in grades K through 2, the Magnetic Reading Foundations component, which did earn a perfect score with Ed Research. That kind of covers like the phonics, the phonemic awareness, the foundational literacy, reading and writing skills. In grades K and 1, we have the reading component, which goes back to that language comprehension. If you think about the rope, magnetic reading, I don't have a little pointer here, but magnetic reading foundations, it would be the top of the rope, and the reading for comprehension would be the language comprehension piece on the bottom. The iReady suite, which we've been using in Wall for 4 years now, ties everything together and gives teachers tools for instruction that are both remote and the kids use that in the classroom for more individualized instruction. And then in grade 2, we bring in a more formalized writing program where they're exposed to all of the genres of the writing course. Oh, click it. Yeah, thanks. Go to this one. Yeah. So this is what it looks like. It seems overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, there's 3 different pieces of language arts. That's always the case. But we have sequencing guides for teachers, so it really spells out what they need to do every day. And that goes back to that piece in the science of reading that stresses the structure of the literacy program, that all students need to be getting that same structured literacy piece in K through 2. So we have these sequencing guides. They're available through teachers in our shared drive, and they are all following them. It tells them pretty much exactly what they need to do. It has a whole class component, and it also has a small group targeted instruction component. A week of magnetic reading, really quickly. Go. Can I go back? Yep. Yeah. Yep. So when we look at magnetic reading, it's very structured. We basically introduce a skill on the first day, we practice and apply on the second, we introduce that skill again, practice and apply, and on the 5th day of every lesson is assessment. The assessment piece is huge for our teachers already. I spoke to a bunch today, how much they've learned even in that first week of what they need to do to help kids learn to read. Ready reading, very common, read, think, talk, write. And then in the writing process, that has not really changed. The standards still have not changed, so those are things that we do in grades 2. And then in all of the grades, there is that grammar component, spelling, punctuation, the specific instruction on the conventions of language, which we're excited about. Every class will have targeted small group instruction, with one of the groups being teacher-led. Students can work on their personalized iReady, and then they'll have center rotations that the teachers will plan. If you'd like to learn more, go to the podcast, Sold a Story. Everybody has to listen to it. Start there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCann and Ms. Embon, for coming out tonight to present. This is a conversation that has been going on a while. We will absolutely be inviting you back for some updates at the end of this school year. I wish to thank you both so much. So much work has gone in to really research and rolling out the program. And I would also be remiss if I did not thank our principals and our teachers and our specialists that have really embraced this, and they are giving it 150% each and every day in the classrooms with our kids. So I just wanted to thank you, and we really look forward to some updates, especially towards the end of the school year, because I have a feeling our data will be growing by leaps and bounds. So I thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce another exciting initiative for the 23-24 school year and moving forward. And that is probably something that you've heard an awful lot about, because one thing Ms. Steiner, our Director of Intervention and Student Wellness, is good at is communicating and advertising. So I am certain that you probably have seen the name 7 Mindsets around the district in your emails, on social media. And it is my pleasure to turn the next portion of presentations over to Ms. Steiner and also to Ms. Kaylin Gilvary, who is one of our amazing child study team members that is here because she is one of our district leaders as a district SEL select. So with that, I'm going to be quiet now and slide over to the side so I don't block the view. And I know that we look forward to this. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Handerhan, and thank you to our Board of Education for inviting us this evening. Like you said, I am Tiffany Steiner. I'm the Director of Intervention, and to my left here is Mrs. Gilvary, who is our District Select Leader. Tonight, we would like to take this as an opportunity to provide a refresher on the 7 mindsets, because I know that we have learned a little bit about them last year, and then I want to set the stage for you to see how we're going to jump into the first mindset. So if you can recall, last year we began this process with a committee. We really reflected upon many of the lessons that we do for student wellness, and we determined that there was a need for some type of systematic approach to student health and wellness. And so there were 3 things that drove our decision to look at 7 mindsets. We wanted something that was research-based, so we wanted to know when we implement it with fidelity that it works. We wanted something that felt organic and that really seamlessly fit into our community. And we also wanted something that would align to our future and our vision of the future. So with that said, that's where we came up with 7 mindsets, and it really hit all of our requirements. So 7 Mindsets is a research-based student wellness program. What drives the research is the main question is what allows an individual to attain happiness in life? And this is what was studied by our authors Scott Schickler and Jeff Waller. There was various research studies and interviews with over 400 successful individuals, and what they determined is that happiness is not predicated on what you know or where you come from. It's not about money. What it is about is how you think and interact and perceive the world. And so there were 7 thought processes or habits of mind that were clearly identified across all of these successful, happy people. And that is our 7 mindsets. Furthermore, when we looked at 7 mindsets, we wanted to see not just what the basis of the program, but we wanted to see, now that we have this philosophy of 7 mindsets, what a curriculum and what impact a curriculum would have on our students. So within the 7 mindsets, the authors did create a curriculum that is age-appropriate K to 12, and the research on implementation of the curriculum is just wild. There's research for different types of learners and different type of students. We have research on how there's a decrease in out-of-school suspensions, so some of our behavioral concerns or attendance concerns, there's much decrease in those behaviors. But then there's the other side of the research where they researched grit, optimism, self-efficacy, and adaptability, and these characteristics in children. And I wanted to just tell you that the growth in these areas, in the area of grit, it went from 25% grit to 87%. In self-efficacy, it went from 18% to 67%. Optimism, 18% to 78%. And adaptability, 22% to 98%. And that is with 1 year of implementation of this type of program. Oops, sorry. So how do we make this happen? We started last year, and if you can see, there's a list of things that we have done, and Dr. Handerhan is correct in saying that I've been relentless with trying to get people engaged and involved, and I have to say, I'm proud because we're succeeding. We've had book studies, we've had letters go out, we've had professional development, we've had community presentations, we've had all of our 8th graders going into 9th grade. It has been a mandatory freshman read. Our staff read the book over the summer. We've gotten numerous emails and feedback of how much this program it's just for everyone. It's a wellness program for everyone. So even our staff and our community members who are reading this book are finding that it's so applicable to their lives. And now we look to the future and what our next steps will look like into the school year. And as we implement the curriculum with the children, you're going to see building level faculty monthly meetings with refreshers on each of the mindsets. There will be with each mindset a teacher integration guide that will be sent to all of the classroom teachers and show them ways that they can kind of seamlessly put the curriculum into their teacher practice. There'll be parent letters. There'll be book selections alignment in our media centers. We'll have books that capture the mindsets showcased throughout the media centers. There'll be, of course, the explicit instruction on the mindsets, which will be done by our counseling staff. There'll be teacher modeling and framing. For our students who need more, there are interventions in restorative and targeted instruction that can be delivered to support those children. And then we have some whole school project alignments, like, we've met with the PTO in making sure that even with our clothes drives and different things that we do throughout the year, that we really couch it under one of the mindsets, like live to give, attitude of gratitude. And we have our website, which is under construction, that will constantly feature what we are doing with the mindsets. So we are launching. We are ready to start the mindsets in October. How will parents know that is that there will be a mindset newsletter that will come home with some reinforcements even for parents and things that they can do and resources for home. And what we are starting with, if you have read the book, you've noticed that we ordered the mindsets to align with what our district feels needs to be the order and sequence of delivery. And that was established through one of our committees of teachers and parents and counselors. So the verdict is in, and we are beginning with We Are Connected. So October will be We Are Connected. It fits in nicely with some of our other initiatives, such as Week is Respect. And what I would like to do is I'd like to invite Mrs. Gilvari to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what a taste of a lesson would look like.
We're not going to actually do a lesson. So thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be here and giving me this opportunity to work with Mrs. Steiner and work with this such great initiative. We want to give you just a small sample of what the lessons can look like in the classroom. This is a YouTube video, but it resembles everything that we are trying to get out to our students, our community, and our staff. So I'm going to be quiet. It's a short video. It's only about 4.5 minutes, and then we'll finish when we're done, okay? Thank you.
I have never, ever been in a ball pit before.
What?
You've never been in the ball pit?
No, never.
You gotta go.
No, I've seen them, but I've never been in one.
You know, I remember these ball pits because my kids threw up in them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see.
Okay, this is a good one. Share 3 things on your bucket list.
First one is to go skydiving.
I want to go skydiving.
Have you ever had those dreams where you're just like floating and, you know, you're flying and everything? Scuba diving is just exactly that.
Don't you get afraid of drowning or being underwater, or getting attacked by an octopus, or any of those things?
I want to learn curling,
What is it?
like that Winter Olympic sport.
Oh, all right, where you slide the...
Yeah, and then it's like bowling and sweeping.
Find one thing you have in common. Do you play sports?
Not currently.
I play soccer, so.
Soccer?
Yeah. All right.
Actually, I play the drums. Do you play any instruments?
I quit everything I ever tried.
All right.
Actually, fun fact, these aren't real teeth. Yeah.
I have a flipper tooth.
Really?
Ah! Oh my God! No! I can't, wait.
What?
My front tooth!
Oh my gosh.
What? You don't even understand. I swear to God, I feel like someone planted us here for this reason.
Destiny.
Describe the first time you fell in love.
Oh, I think it was kindergarten. I don't remember his name, but he was beautiful.
I was in the Navy.
You were in the Navy?
And my husband was in the Navy. Long story short, before he ever kissed me or we were ever really together, he told me he loved me. 24 years later, we're more in love and we're better friends than even from the very beginning.
That's true love in its finest. Talk about someone who inspires you.
It's all right to talk about somebody that's a religious character.
Yeah, why not? This is our ball pit. We can talk about whoever we want, right?
Jesus.
All right. Just my peers. They're all creative in their own ways and have their own realities and own lessons. I just grow from everybody else's as well as my own. Martin Luther King, I think, because the fact that we're sitting in this box together is a big deal, you know?
You know what inspires me, believe it or not, is my daughter. She is everything I ever wanted to be.
All right. Talk about the experience that changed your life. Oh, that's a good one. After my wife decided that it was time that we split, I started to have a different perspective on life. I saw women differently. I saw relationships differently. I think I'm more appreciative of women.
How old did you say you are? 20?
Yeah.
Okay. At the age of 21, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And it pulled the rug out from all my plans. It really changes the way you look at things.
My grandmother has it.
Who does?
My grandmother.
There's our comment.
We found the comment.
We found the comment.
That's why I was still here. We found the comment.
Oh, create a secret handshake. Okay.
Okay, but nothing was spit.
Okay, with that.
I need both hands. So this.
And then whoever gets on the top makes a flag.
Oh, now I forgot what it is.
And then like maybe a little twitch in the middle.
1, 2, 1, 2.
High 10. All right, we did it.
Awesome. I actually had a lot of fun. I was a little bit nervous because normally you don't hang out with strangers in ball pits. I got to learn some pretty cool things about you.
It was really nice to meet you. You too.
I hope I see
I'll
you
take a
again.
look.
Okay, I love it.
I'm really impressed by you. I was worried that I would start talking to you like a mom. I don't know if I did.
No. Nah, you didn't. Trust me. You did good.
So pancake.
All right, thank you. So I wanted to just, before we finish, I wanted to just say this is a representation of how engaging these lessons are. This is obviously for upper, middle, and high school, but you can see throughout that video the diversity, the able to connect with a complete stranger on the street and do it effortlessly. We want to give our kids, our community, and our staff the power to continue to embrace each other and celebrate each other. This also models absolutely how we build relationships, how we start from the ground up. It can just be finding that one common denominator that connects us, because we are connected. It reinforces our ability to explore, to embrace diversity. It always teaches us that there is a way to find a common ground. Even in conflict, we can find a common ground, excuse me, and to have that sense of community. All of these are skills that we teach our amazing teachers, staff, administrators, counselors, parents, community members teach these skills every day. We teach them as conflict resolution, when we're doing a HIP investigation, when we're trying to just simply increase confidence in peer relations, empathy building, self-awareness, self-growth. However, the 7 mindsets puts it all in a really nice package where it's not overwhelming, it's simple, plain language, it's relatable, it's fun, and everybody's getting the same message. So we're really looking forward to involving everybody in this, because I know we're involving everybody, but embracing it. And as we start with We Are Connected, just think of being in a ball pit and finding that common ground. And that's just kind of an example of what we have to come. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity and really allowing our district to embrace this. All of the principals, all of the administrators, all of the staff have been nothing but welcoming regarding this. So we're really excited to do it. So we'll be back. Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Steiner, Ms. Gilvari, for all of your hard work. And also, I would like to give a shout out to our staff members that are making this happen each and every day in the classrooms, in the counseling offices, you know, on the fields, in the hallways. It's really nice because the 7 Mindsets has really brought every aspect of the school community together. Every single person is involved and invested, and we're working on this together. Ms. Steiner, you haven't told me quite yet where we're putting the balls, which school is fortunate enough. Middle school gets it. Just kidding, because that looks like an awful lot of fun. So I thank you for coming out tonight. We do have one more presentation this evening, and I would like to welcome again our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction to share with us some data that we are required to share with the state, with our stakeholders. So, Ms. McCann.
Thank you, everyone. My presentation won't be as fun and exciting as the 7 Mindsets, but I will try to do my best to make this as easygoing as possible. So as Dr. Handerhan had mentioned, we are required every year to report out on our state test results from the previous school year. So tonight we will be going over the NJSLA as well as the DLM results. So the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, also known as the NJSLA, was administered in the spring of 2023. And it is administered to all students in grades 3 through 8 for math, Algebra 1 students, Algebra 2, and geometry. And also for students in grades 3 through 9 for ELA. In science for grades 5, 8, and 11. And it is aligned to our standards in every content area for each of those grade levels. There are 5 performance levels that indicate how our students performed. First is level 1, where they did not meet the expectations. They either can then partially meet the expectations, approaching the expectations, met the expectations of the standard, or exceeded the expectation of the standard. In grade 3, we're reporting out on the percentage of students who either met or exceeded the expectations. And you'll notice that the first bar is our state results, which is at 42%. We're either meeting or exceeding the expectations. On average, our district was at 52%. And then you'll see the percentage of students for each of our elementary schools in grade 3 ELA. In grade 4 ELA, the state average was at 52%. Our district average is at 64%. And again, you can see how each of our students performed. In grade 5 ELA, the state average is 53%. The district average is 75%. And again, you can see how each of the schools performed individually. At the secondary level, we have grade 7 at 77%, meeting or exceeding the expectations versus the state at 49%. We have grade 7 at 76% versus the state at 56%. Grade 8 at 66% and the state at 55%. And grade 9 at 55% and the state at 52%. Now we are also part of the presentation. We have our subgroups within the district. Now, if you look down to the second section, ethnicity and race, we do have many more ethnicity and races within the district. However, due to the statistics and the number of students who fall into those categories, they would be considered identifiable. So the state, if there's a subgroup that is less than 20 students, we're not required to show you the results of those particular subgroups because you may or may not be able to identify those students. But overall, this is just a breakdown that we would look at from a district standpoint to see where we can hone in on a particular subgroup and then do a bigger data dive to see how we could support these students. Now, it's great to know how our students did for this particular school year, but one of the things that I love to look at as a district curriculum person is to see not only from year to year, because if you compare our results from 2022 to 2023, you're looking and comparing two different components, two different baskets of students. So I like to look at the cohort of students as they move through the grade levels, which is the color coding. So last year, you'll notice our grade 3 students were at 48% being proficient or meeting or exceeding those expectations. As 4th graders, 64% of those students, and so forth and so on. You can see the groupings of cohorts for each of the grade levels. Overall, in ELA, I'd have to give it to all of the teachers for really moving their students forward that they received last school year. And we hope to continue to see that progress from the students that are sitting in front of us this school year. Now on to math. Similarly, we have in grade 3 math, the state at 46%, the district at 62%, and again, you can see how each of the schools performed. At grade 4, the state is at 44%, the district is at 60%, and each of the schools were in about the same range, with West Belmar taking the lead at 72%. In grade 5, the state is at 40%, the district is at 64%, and we have Old Mill this time taking the lead at 76%. In secondary math, grade 6 was at 58% meeting or exceeding the expectations. Grade 7 is at 55% meeting or exceeding the expectations. Grade 8 is at 22%. I want to clarify on grade 8, or give a better explanation of grade 8. Our students in grade 7 and grade 8 also take the Algebra 1 assessment and or the geometry assessment. So in grade 8, they could be taking Algebra 1, depending on what course they take, and then there's a population of students who also fall into that geometry component. So the students that are reflected here in grade 8 aren't all of our grade 8 students. It is the population of students who take grade 8 math. In Algebra 1, we're at 58% district-wide, including the intermediate school and high school students who are meeting or exceeding the expectations. In geometry, 52%, which again includes both the intermediate school and the high school, and Algebra 2 students at 60% meeting or exceeding the expectations. Again, here's our breakdown of subgroups by grade or by course. And again, the breakdown of cohorts. You can compare from year to year, as well as looking at the cohort of students as they moved up to the next grade level. If you look at the high school courses, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, or the geometry courses, whether that be the intermediate school or the high school, those no longer get the color coding because they fall into different classes as they move from those different courses into the high school. One thing to note is the Algebra 2 scores are not the entire Algebra 2 program. They are our 9th grade students who came from our geometry course in WIS, or at WIS. As I mentioned, NJSLA also incorporates science, but only in grades 5, 8, and 11. We had 35% of our students in grade 5 that met or exceeded the standards expectations. In grade 8 was 25%, and grade 11 was also 25%. Now, one of the other assessments that we do administer to a very special population within our district is the Dynamic Learning Maps Assessment, which is also called the DLM. It is an assessment that is administered in the spring, just like the NJSLA, but it is an alternate assessment for students with the most significant intellectual disabilities in ELA, mathematics, and science. You'll notice the 3 areas that are tested are the same 3 areas of NJSLA. So it is a modified assessment for the students who have the most intellectual disabilities within the district. They have 4 proficiency levels. First, there's emerging, then there's the approaching the target, then they're at the target, or they could be advanced of their target. That was on the assessment. Now, the reporting of this particular group is from a district standpoint, not by grade level. We had a total of 11 students in the district that took this assessment, hence why you're not going to see a grade level breakdown, but a district-wide breakdown of how we performed. So for the ELA results, 27% of that 11 were at emerging, 9% is at approaching their target, 45% met the target, which is fantastic, and we have 18% that was advanced. So kudos to those students. Same group of students who took the math assessment, 27% are at emerging, 0 were at approaching, and this time 27% were at the target and 45% were advanced. And in science, we had 66% at emerging and 33% at advanced. Now, the other component to think about with the science is, again, that's only in grades 5, 8, and 11, not in the entire group of the 11 students that took the assessment. So what are our next steps as a district? Well, first and foremost, we're going to conduct a data dive. This is one piece of data that we have in the district amongst all of the other assessments that we administer in September. We have the DIBELS that we mentioned, we have iReady that we mentioned. So now we'll take the opportunity to sit with all the administrators and the supervisors and look from a district standpoint, look from a school standpoint, and then even go down to a classroom standpoint to see what we can do to better service our students. Part of the reports that we receive at a district level from the NJDOE for each of these assessments is something called an evidence statement report, which basically outlines all of the standards that were assessed on the assessments, so we can then make adjustments to curriculum and or provide additional professional development for teachers in different areas. We'll identify the students that are in need of academic assistance and provide them with either morning support or after-school support in each of the schools in math and ELA. We'll provide tiered support to the students within the classroom. As we mentioned earlier in the ELA presentation, we've revamped the MTSS program so that we are really honing in on our Tier 1 students and then also providing a more targeted approach for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. And of course, over the course of the school year, we will continue to monitor student progress with all of our in-house assessments that we provide for our students. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCann.
Okay, thank you so much to everyone who's presented this evening. We got a lot of valuable information. We're very fortunate to have the administrators that we do and the different directors in the district, and it's always a treat to kind of hear what's going on. So I hope that our community got a lot of information there. At this time, I'm going to go ahead with my report. I'd like to welcome everyone to the first meeting of the 2023-24 school year. It's fantastic to have our staff and our students back in our buildings and on our school grounds. I'm very excited to have our student reps join us again back at the dais, and I'm looking forward to having the remaining fellow student reps join us throughout the year. While I hope that the summer gave lots of folks a chance to relax and recharge, the board recognizes how hard many members of the staff work to prepare for this new school year, and we thank you. On Friday, September 1st, I had the honor of representing my fellow board members at the Wall High School varsity field to welcome the entire district back. I'd like to reiterate the tremendous amount of pride and respect the board has for our district staff across all areas of operation. We appreciate the dedication demonstrated each day in every department and know how critically important each member of our WAL team is to the success of our students. Across the district, parent groups at each of our schools have also been planning and working to welcome our staff back through the Stock the Lounge and Stock the Classroom initiatives. Thank you to our families who participate in PTO and PTA, as well as our various booster groups. Your contributions of time and talent create such special memories for our school community, and your generosity is greatly appreciated. I am looking forward to the many events that are going to be hosted by those groups throughout the year, and I invite every family to explore the possibility of joining your PTA and your PTOs. It's never too late to get involved and make your students' journey incredible. As a reminder to our community, there are 3 seats on the Board of Education that need to be filled in November. Information for write-in candidates can be found on the district website. Interested parties can also refer to the Monmouth County Board of Elections for additional information. Please be sure to utilize these resources as they will detail candidate requirements. Last month, Ms. D. Giovanni shared her experiences thus far on the board, and this evening we will be hearing from Mr. Maloff during the board report as he provides some of his insight on serving the community. Finally, I hope our community has found board meetings more positive in tone, more celebratory of student achievement, and more streamlined for public viewing and participation. The board made deliberate alterations to our meetings since the beginning of 2023 and has conducted meetings with the goal of modeling the decorum and respect that we expect to see in our district classrooms. I'd like to see our stakeholders reflect the same decorum when discussing district business during public comment as well as on social media. As adults, we must recognize the impact that our conduct and communication has on our students and families in the community, so please be mindful of this when bringing forth commentary. It really is up to each of us to try to create a cohesive and supportive community. That is going to conclude my report for this evening, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Handerhan for superintendent update.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stites. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Wall High School Color Guard and our student representatives, to the Board of Education, who we heard from earlier, Mason Adam and Megan Cappy, for all coming out this evening. I think it is so critical and so important to have our students participate in this truly a civic exercise. Earlier this month, we welcomed back students and staff to the 2023-2024 school year. So far, so many wonderful events have taken place for students, families, and staff. Events such as Fall Kickoff Game Night, hosted by Ms. Henry, our athletic director, new student orientations at the intermediate and high schools, new staff orientations, 2 professional days for staff, several athletic events, 7 mindset book talks, and the list goes on. At this time, I would very much like to share some images captured during some of these opening activities. Thank you so much for indulging me. I never get tired of seeing smiling faces across the district, so thank you. To continue, I owe a big thank you to Mr. Laughlin, District Operations Department, the WIS building operations staff for working so hard refreshing the WIS courtyard. This space is now accessible to all of our students and is truly becoming a valuable outdoor instructional space. So I thank them for all of their hard work this summer. As many of you are aware, the district has posted an opening for a high school principal. We are currently accepting applications and resumes. Upon review of the applications for qualified candidates, rounds of interviews will be scheduled. I look forward to updating the community on our progress in the coming weeks. For those of you that follow our Board of Education meetings, you're probably aware that the Board of Education is in the process of proposing amendments to the policy with respect to homeschooled students and athletics and extracurriculars. I would like to stress that homeschooled students is not the same as students that are on home instruction. Homeschooled students are not enrolled in the public school system. On tonight's agenda is the second reading for a policy revision which would preclude homeschooled students from participating in Wall Public Schools athletics and extracurricular activities. Since the first reading at our last public meeting, there was this topic was brought up in public comment, and I have since met and spoken with some homeschooled parents, as well as parents of students who send their children to Wall Public Schools on this proposed revision. Since then, the policy committee asked me to collect data on homeschooled students' participation in high school athletics in the short conference. In the short conference, excluding Wall and private or parochial schools, approximately 1/3 of the school districts permit homeschooled students' participation, and approximately 2/3 do not permit the practice. That said, some K-8 school districts, which are sending districts to short conference high schools, do permit the practice. After much discussion and consideration of both positions, the committee wishes to move forward with the second reading this evening. Also on this evening's agenda is the appointment of a supervisor of instruction and communications coordinator. This is an important step towards realizing our district communication goals as well as our academic goals. I believe I see Miss Kelly Weiner. Miss Weiner, would you please stand up? She's in the audience this evening. She's on the agenda as a supervisor of instruction. Ms. Weiner has demonstrated time and time again her leadership in the area of English and media and arts and library science, and I'm thrilled that you're here this evening, and you being on the agenda is another part of really some exciting things that are going to happen this school year. So welcome, and I'm so happy you're here. As I indicated at past meetings, the 2023-2024 school year is going to be exciting. As Ms. McCann and Ms. Mbon shared earlier, implementing brain-based reading instruction is a cutting-edge and exciting endeavor. Ms. Steiner and Ms. Gilvari also shared with us an overview of pre-K through 12 implementation of the 7 mindsets that will no doubt support our goals in strengthening resilience and fostering positive habits of mind across our school community. This year, we also are welcoming the implementation of the Marzano's Focused Teacher Evaluation Model as a tool to assist us in our ongoing pursuit of strengthening our instructional practices. After reviewing data following the impact of COVID, we have also updated our response to intervention practices. Internally, we are working towards streamlining software and databases to improve the user experience and avoid redundancies. That was just a sampling of all the work going on behind the scenes to support our students and staff. We will be sharing more exciting new programs and initiatives as the year unfolds. I would like to thank our staff for all of their hard work in the creation, implementation, delivery, and review of these new programs and initiatives. Their work is truly appreciated and it is valued. I am so excited to see these great things that will take place this year and beyond as we, as a district, learn and grow together. This evening, there were some comments with respect to ESSER funding, and I do want to just share that we do talk about the ESSER funding and the details on how the funding is spent, and we do so during our budget workshop sessions. So Ms. McCann gave detailed presentations on how each and every dollar is spent, and prior to Ms. McCann starting in the district, we did have an interim assistant superintendent, Dr. Donna Rando, and she too presented during the budget workshops on how each and every dollar has been spent that was allocated to the district with respect to the ESSER program and the CARES funding and, of course, the ARP funds. They're all under the umbrella of ESSER funding. I would also like to make comment to the vaccines being on the district website. We are required to provide information on vaccines. It's up to the districts how they choose to do so. Some school districts distribute brochures and flyers, some with direct emails to families, and this district has chosen to provide information on our health offices' websites as a resource, as we have resources for many other services throughout the county, and certainly services provided by our local health departments. So with that, I just wanted to make mention of that. And at this point, I'd like to turn it back to our board president, Ms. Christine Stites.
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Smythe.
Sorry, only because the two reports provided seem to address a number of the comments made during public comment. I just wanted to add, even though the Board of Education doesn't comment on litigation that the district is involved in, I do want to address the questions or comments with regard to the board entering into a contract or not entering into a contract, or utilizing the services of a law firm, Fessel and Werble, without a contract, or the concerns that we are withholding documents because anytime a request for records for a contract with the firm has received a response that said a document doesn't exist, and that's because the district has not contracted with the law firm Fessel and Werble. The firm was appointed or retained through the insurance company. We're part of the Diploma Joint Insurance Fund, and the law firm was appointed by through our insurance, not by the district. The district didn't retain the services directly, but that service is being provided through our insurance. So we do not have a contract with the law firm. So therefore, there is no contract, there is no documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smythe. I appreciate that. All right, at this point in
And Ms.
time.
Stites, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt,
go
just
right
one
ahead.
other point of reference. There was a comment earlier with regard to communications with the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. I communicate with the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office on a number of items, including options to address those who disrupt the board's business meeting, as well as those individuals who routinely publish false information on social media platforms.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to proceed with the Board of Education update. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Nasser to give a referendum update, please.
Thank you, Ms. Stites. This month, the referendum expenses have been updated. Next month, Phoenix Advisors is coming in to give FNF a presentation, specifically with regard to the mechanics of managing the referendum funds, and we'll report out in the minutes next month. Allenwood, the paving is complete. There is some outstanding concrete work, railings, and lighting that will be completed after the start of the school year. Dr. Handerhan mentioned the WIS courtyard here. It does look amazing. You can see it on the way out, although it may be dark now, but I stuck my head out there and it looked great. They really worked hard on it. For another project we're working on was the roof over at the high school. It was kind of hard to miss if you drove by the area. It is substantially complete. I know there was some questions regarding some tarps or some overhangs. There was some flashing that had to be completed, and well, it was hot out, so people like to work in the shade. So it really did come out nice, and kudos again to Dr. Handerhan for picking out the right color, because that's something that we don't do in FNF. Going forward, we're looking at West Belmar's site work. There's a number of projects that we're working on for next summer. Part of the design changed, which is why it wasn't included last year, so those bid documents are being prepared. We're hoping to have them ready to go out to bid around December. Interior upgrades, bathroom upgrades, and window upgrades district-wide are in the process of getting comment from the schools and getting input before those bid documents are put together. The goal on that is to have them ready to bid by January. HVAC is going to be a huge project, and we're hoping to have that ready to bid by February of this coming 2024. And our flat roofing projects, we're looking to bid in November. I know we discussed in committee about getting infrared scans done just to make sure that we're not missing anything before we have any specifications finalized. So we're moving forward with that. Last but not least, the administration has started meetings with stakeholders about the conceptual design of the athletic fields at the high school. The goal is to finish these meetings and be able to bid them by February of 2024, and we'll have some design renderings that we can present to the community at a future meeting. We don't have an exact date yet, but once we get everybody's input and we sit down with the architect and our civil engineers, we're hoping to have a visual that we can at least present and get input on. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser, and I'd remind everybody that they can go to the referendum tab on the district website, where you can also catch some pictures of some of the projects as they're in process and then completion, and we'll be continuing to update that. So it's pretty exciting to see the fruits of the labor and the benefits of the decisions that were made by the Wall community. So we continue to thank you for supporting that referendum. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Maliff to give some of his perspective as a member of the board. So if there are folks out in the community who are considering joining us, maybe he can shed some light on his experience so far.
Thank you, Ms. Seitz, Madam President. I've been a member of this board now for now close to 2 years, and there are some observations that I can make. I have found that this board is very much unified in doing its best to serve the students in the Wall Township schools and in the community at large. We may not always agree on every point or issue, but we respect each other's opinions and work together, and I think quite well. I especially enjoy the work that we're able to do at our committee meetings. I think that's very important. We do it there, then we can bring it to the full board. I feel very confident in the leadership of the district, and impressed by the district staff in general. And you know, Ms. Seitz mentioned it, but I'm going to go and mention a little more specifically that, you know, central office, building administrators, supervisors, teachers, paraprofessionals, coaches, advisors, security, custodians, food workers, bus drivers, buildings and grounds, counselors, and especially I am particularly impressed with the hardworking administrative assistants who do the incredible work of the district. As Ms. Seitz said, this district is only as successful as the people that work here and the students that go here, and I'm very much encouraged by what I see here. I've attended athletic events, concerts, plays, and other events, and we've seen presentations here at board meetings of students' accomplishments. We have great students here in our schools, and the community should be encouraged by these students and their accomplishments. I could also admit to some frustrations. There are often legal and ethical concerns that prevent things from moving forward as quickly as we would like. That's just the nature of what we have to do at times. I also found it a little bit discouraging to see that there were no residents who filed petitions to run for the board in November. Wall Township being one of the only towns, and the only town really of our size, that didn't have any people file petitions. I don't know why. I find it to be an honor to be on the board and a privilege to serve the community. And I would encourage anybody who wanted to be more active to please get involved. I find it very rewarding. Lastly, I would like to thank the community for supporting the referendum. Mr. Nasser gave a great report on the referendum. There's a lot of things that are being done. Certainly, we are looking forward to the athletic improvements and the other areas of the school. And these are the things, and these initiatives will benefit the students and the community for years to come. So again, I encourage anybody who's thinking about running for the board in the future to do so. We would like to have your support, and we would like to have your involvement. Thank you, Ms. Seitz. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Maloff. And if anyone missed Ms. DiGiovanni's statement at the August meeting, feel free to take a peek at the board report from August, and you can maybe get her perspective as well if you're kind of on the fence about what you'd like to do. I think hopefully this will encourage you to join us and lend your voice and lend your energy to the district. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Smythe to please update the community right now regarding an addition to the agenda.
Yes, following the board's executive session this evening, the Board of Education is adding item 15J under the Board of Education report. The agenda item is approval of a separation of service agreement dated September 19, 2023 regarding employee number 7343. So that's item 15J added to the consent agenda.
Thank you. At this time, that's going to conclude our Board of Education update. Our committee reports, our minutes are available on the website. Do we have any policy, or rather committee chairs that have any reports to give this evening? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Again, we're going to be opening the floor for public comment. At this time, this public comment is for the purpose of commenting on agenda items that the board will be taking action on this evening. Please state the agenda item, if you're able to do so, that you are referencing. And we invite you to please come up to the podium at this time.
Madam President, my name is Tom Haar. My wife, Stacy, and I have been residents of Wall Township for 5 years now, since 2018, and we have 5 children. Our oldest, twin boys, are sophomores at Wall High School, and our youngest 3, 8th, 6th, and 4th grades, respectively, are homeschooled. I rise in reference to the proposed changes to the policies that have been referenced already this evening about allowing homeschool students, including ours over the last 4 years, to participate on athletic teams, in our case, at Wall Intermediate School. I recognize that you have already heard other people speak to the issue this evening. I serve on several boards myself. I know that once policy committees have recommended things to the full board, that decisions have largely been made. And so my main purpose is to offer my appreciation to you, to Dr. Handerhan, to everyone on the board over the last several weeks who have listened to my specific concerns in personal meetings, in phone conversations, and in much written correspondence. I'm also grateful in recent days for your consideration as to how this change can be fairly implemented to those who are affected, specifically giving those families the ability to complete this academic year under the same privileges of athletic participation that were assumed as the year began, and I hope that we are able to do that. As with others, this is obviously a personal issue for me and my family. We are disappointed by the decision. Our participation experience over the last 4 years has been overwhelmingly positive, and it has provided an on-ramp for us to grow in comfort and excitement about entering into high school like our two boys have done and our daughter hopes to do next year. I believe there could have been workable solutions to any of the objections or any of the concerns, at least the ones that I have heard, and I believe that the district is missing an opportunity to encourage greater participation and greater connection with the community by making this change. I'm not convinced by the arguments that I have heard in favor of the change, but at the same time, I must concede that my arguments to you have obviously not been convincing either. That is the way that it works. At the end of the day, this is how civil discourse happens. My views have been heard, they have been considered, and the duly appointed, elected, and appointed representatives of our community will be deciding. I respect that, and I respect the authority of the board. I brought my intermediate school-aged children with me this evening, and like the others who are here, they have sat through the proceedings, and I think that's important. I want them to see how this works, how people can express opinions with conviction, sometimes disagree, but do so with respect and civility. It is an incredibly important part of their education for which my wife and I take responsibility, and intentional or not, I thank you for assisting in that part of their education.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment other than the cricket?
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall. I couldn't agree with that gentleman more. I think, Dr. Handerhan, you're going to have to release whatever you said you looked at for the 1/3 of the, I guess 1/3 of schools do allow the homeschooled students. We should have been part of the 1/3. I think it's a disgrace. But nothing surprises me anymore, it really doesn't. So we saw the hand carry, and I'm hoping the video was not going to be doctored, because when the meeting opened, Mr. Smythe was back there with some gentleman at the copy machine discussing what you were going to be discussing in executive session. So it just seems ridiculous that we have to do a hand carry, so God forbid we saw it on an agenda. It's just the usual lack of transparency, Ms. Stites, and you're all in. So we have a separation agreement for ID number 7343, and it should have been on an agenda. It's just ridiculous that it's not. And then you talked about the ESSER funds, Dr. Handerhan, discussed during budget workshops. Yes, remember, we don't have handouts, so we don't get to see anything. You have the handouts. So I have put an OPA request for ESSER funds documents, and I see Brian Smythe shaking his head no. So,
Just to clarify, I was not shaking my head no to your comment. I was shaking my head no to this. Your topics are not action items and shouldn't be discussed during this portion of public comment.
okay, well, she discussed it. If she had discussed it during the first, I would have been able to discuss it then. So don't discuss something that I cannot go back and ask a question on. I've OPR'd the ESSER funds, and nothing ever comes back. Mr. Smythe says, I'm too vague. It's ridiculous. Other schools give it, you need to give it. You got millions of dollars, nobody knows where it is. I'm still waiting to hear from you, Ms. Stites, on who gave my minor son's picture to the attorney, Athena Cornell and Mr. McKeever. So if you had
Excuse me, Ms. Cross, this is not an action item, and it's been addressed multiple times at other meetings.
Do not disrupt me, Ms. Cornell.
No, I'm sorry.
We pay
This
you
is
way
not
too
the
much money, and
protocol
you
of
keep
the meeting.
losing. You keep losing.
This is action items
Okay,
only,
action
please.
items.
Thank
You're
you.
on here, legal
Thank you.
services, 11,204. Personnel labor for for July was 11,204. for June was $10,369. You keep getting sued, and you keep losing, and we keep paying. So you need to get maybe a new attorney and get rid of Athena Cornell, Dennis McKeever, because this is outrageous. You have $130 in OPRA charges, and you got $21,000 in personnel legal fees. Get your act together. You're a terrible attorney, Athena Cornell.
Thank you, Mrs.
Terrible.
Cross.
Thank you for your comment.
Do we have anyone else for public comment at this time? Anyone else for public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment. Okay. Prior to moving to the consent agenda, I would like to reiterate that the ESSER presentations are available on the website. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll grant that motion.
Ms. Hodnett, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Di Giovanni? Do we have any discussion on the board prior to roll call? Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, will you please call roll call?
Mr. Anisio?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain from HR report number 16, letter A, Roman numeral 7. Number 17 under that for a family member.
Mr. Buffer? Yes. Ms. Di Giovanni?
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain to item 15J.
Mr. Maliff?
Yes, but I will abstain on 16A, Roman numeral 7, number 24.
Noted. Mr. Nasser?
I'm going to abstain on 13A and B. I am a no on 15J and a yes on everything else.
Noted. Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain on 14B.
Mr. Wondrak?
Yes.
Ms. Stites?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to also thank members of the public who have communicated with us via emails and phone calls. It's very important that we have community participation and that we hear voices when creating policy. So we do appreciate that interaction. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
I'll second.
Mr. Adonisio, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all, and I hope everyone has a great remainder of September.